Hi, and welcome to That's So Nova. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, and thank you for coming back. My name is Nova, and today we're going to be doing an Rosa pattern. If you're new to this channel, then let me just inform you, this is a obsessed subscription group, whatever you want to talk about it. This channel is obsessed with Rosa. So today we're going to be doing the Bella bucket bag, and Bella truly lives up to her name. She's absolutely stunning. This Bella bucket is great for carrying your daily needs, and it's great for prints or solids or showcasing different quilting designs. You can't go wrong with whatever combination you put. Alexis has the bag having two different handle options, one with the shoulder and one with the cross body. Inside of the bag is two large slip pockets. There's a divider pocket and a large main compartment, and there is a recessed zipper. It is a drop-in lining, but it is not very intimidating. My best suggestion is to check your bobbin tension. So right now, before you stop, hit that pause button, go get a scrap of Peltex 71 or get some scraps of a sandwich and play around with the tensions of your bobbin. I know that is very hard, but most of the times when I'm doing drop-in linings, that is what I am banking on, is that my bobbin thread is going to be the same tension as my top thread. I take time before each project to make sure that my tension is right. That is key part of sewing. I know sometimes we don't want to do it, but I promise you, once you get into the hang of it, it becomes a habit. And once you form this habit, then you'll not have any issues with drop-in linings or any kind of linings, because you know your top thread and your bobbin thread tensions are absolutely great. I'm going to put a link in the description box for the Bella bucket bag. It is affiliate link, so I would greatly appreciate you clicking on it and you purchasing the pattern to follow along. I do get a small kickback, and I greatly appreciate everything that I'm able to get. So we're going to get started. Let me go over briefly of the hardware. You're going to need two either D or rectangle rings or circle rings that are 1 inch. Okay, we're going to need, you can use 2 to 4 swivel clasps. Today we're going to be doing the shoulder straps because I rarely do those. I usually do the adjustable strap, so we're going to do the shoulder strap. So we need 2 1 inch swivel straps. Then you will need strap ends. That is optional. You don't need them, but they can help the bag look a little bit more elevated. You're going to need a zipper end. You're going to need purse feet, and you will need 2 zippers. Okay, so let's get started. Now, most of this pattern is prep, so please pay attention from your cut chart from page 6 all the way through page, I want to say 20, but let me double check. I was wrong. Page 14 is all prep. There are special ways to attach your interfacings because we're using we're using Pellon 71. Pellon 71 is not a adhesive. You can try adhesive, but I always go off of it. We based it, the pattern, the stabilizer, onto the interface, as you don't see the stitches on the inside because it's only on the interfacing. Then we did 1/8 of an inch based around to make sure that this stays where it needs to stay and it stays secure. So please follow those instructions. There were people in our test group that said that they wanted to try, Decaville Heavy or Decaville Light, and Alexis strongly kind of encourages not to go about that route because with this bag, the way it's structured, she had wrinkles and they were very, very hard, if possible, to get out. So with that being said, keep that in mind. She even recommended if you don't want to use Pellon 70, which you can get at your local Joann's, Hobby Lobbies, or any arts and crafts stores or online on Amazon, that you can try to use foam instead. But that is your call. Foam will give you the structure you need and it will make the bag lighter. So if you're someone that has chronic shoulder or back issues, that might be an avenue you want to check. So on page 7, it goes over the anatomy of the bag. We have our handles and whatnot. So we're going to go skip over to page 18, and we are going to do our strap. So we need to find the 1 inch. This is a 2-inch strap, and we're going to fold it onto itself. So I'm going to remove my double-sided tape. And finger press this. Today I'm going to be sewing on my Juki 1541S, and I'm using 90 weight thread from Superior Thread in black. I could not find my fire red or lipstick red from Kasaya. That's what I really wanted to sew with, but my room is in disarray after the flood that we had in here, and I'm still trying to recover and reorganize stuff. So bear with me for a while because it took a toll on me. My psyche was really messed up because of this. So I'm using double-sided tape, and the double-sided tape I'm using is from Wawak. And I'm using I believe the 3/8 of an inch. That is my favorite actually to do on a 2-inch strap. It's just a little bit wider than, 1/4 of an inch, so I feel like it covers more. So I'm just gonna roll this. I like to roll my straps prior because I feel like it kind of presses the glue together and works out. So we're gonna fold this in half. And when you fold this in half, you have a 1/2 inch. We're gonna bring it over to our machine, and we are going to stitch it down. On the back stitch, before and after, we're just sewing 1/8 of an inch on the open side only. And I'm using a 4.5 inch stitch length. Not inch, 4.5 millimeters. A 4.5 inch stitch would be a massive stitch length and not ideal for bag making. Take your time. You can use clips prior. I just like to take my time and just fold over each section to make sure all the raw edges are meeting each other. All right. Let's trim these threads, and then you would do it to your other one. So you have your 2. So what we're going to do is now take our swivel hooks, and we're going to fold this over to 1.5 inches. We want the stitching to be facing each other. So just keep that cognizant. I'm just going to grab my ends, feed one here, and we're going to go, we want to, like I said, fold it over to 1.5 inches. So I'm going to grab my ruler and make sure I folded it over words. Fold over the loop handle by 1.5 inches. Mark each punch at 5/8 of an inch. Okay. And then I'm going to grab my rotary punch and make a punch hole. And not that big. Ooh. I'm batting 1,000 with this today. I'm going to my rivet and cap, and I'm going to press this over real quickly on my machine. I have a rivet press from Buckle Guys, and I use this for everything. And I'm just making sure that these match up nice and even. That's really important. 5/8 of an inch up. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And we're just going to make sure that the strap is not twisted. Okay. We're going to feed it through, fold it over by 1.5, and then we're going to punch it. At 5/8 of an inch. And we're going to put a rivet through it. And do this once again. I think this is such a fun way to do a strap. It looks so intriguing. It's definitely a show talker. Like, people will stop and be like, this is so unbelievably beautiful. Where did you get your bag? And you're going to be like, I made it. It just starts, it's a conversation starter for sure. Okay. And let me set this last rivet, and then we're going to put this last rivet, and then we're going to put I'm sorry, I was like, I'm trying to get the female part to snap in. I like to push in the snaps before I set the rivet to make sure that they fit. All right, so then we're going to put these strap ends on here to give them a nice professional touch. Now, you don't have to do this. What I like to do is I have a pair of pliers that are quite round, as you see. They're like, I believe they're needle nose pliers, if I'm not mistaken. I got them in the jewelry section of Joann's. I'm just singeing those threads, and I like to press them down whenever I'm putting any kind of hardware in, just to make sure that everything fits nice and smoothly. It helps sometimes. And then I'm going to put this strap in, and then we're going to put some screws in it. And the humming you hear up there is my husband. You know how I was like, hey everybody, I'm going to film, so you know. There he is. Let's see. Get my screwdriver. And these little screws are so tiny and it can be difficult to put in. Just be patient. It's well worth it. The hardware I'm using I got from Emmeline Bags. It was in my stash. I love Emmeline Bags hardware. Her hardware never seems to fail for me, and I thoroughly appreciate it. We're going to do this again. And I'm going to, again, singe the thread, any loose threads. I'm going to take my needle nose pliers and just pinch these as flat as I can get. It kind of just squishes it down a little bit. It doesn't rip the vinyl, and that's very important to me. All right. And let's put these screws in the back. And just when you put the screw in, just make sure that you kind of just tuck in the sides, because it wants to bow out. It doesn't want to conform to the metal, and that's fine. Just give it a little push in and it'll get it all squared up even. Okay. All right. So we have that all squared away, and we have a beautiful strap. So we're going to put this aside for right now. Put it on where I can locate it later. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab the bottom of the bag, which is going to be pattern piece C. So on pattern piece C, we did the same thing. We put our stabilizer, we sewed the stabilizer onto we sewed the woven stabilizer onto the Peltex 70, and then we base stitched around it. So what we're going to do is now take a purse feet, and then you're going to get a ruler. You're going to mark all your centers, and then from the center of the box, you're going to measure in 2.5 inches long. So let's do 2.5 inches and by 1.5 inches tall. And when you do that, you will make your mark, punch your hole, put your purse feet in. I like to, spread open the thong, the prongs, the thong, not right, the prongs. And then we're going to put this backing on, and I like to use electrical tape and put that over the purse feet, so that way we're protecting it. So you're doing a really good job. So let's hop on over onto page 22. We're going to put this aside. On page 22, you're going to grab one of your main exterior pieces and one of your bottom trims. Again, let's look at this for a second. We have, in the prep work, we have our Peltex 70 sewn onto not onto our exterior, but to our woven interfacing. And then we adhere it, and if it doesn't adhere really well because of the bulk of the Peltex 70, then you base stitched it with a U. You didn't base stitch it on the top. So just make sure you have that. If you do, it's not that big of a deal. It's just that we're going to be doing slits in the top to fold down to help with our drop-in lining. Then we have the bottom trim. And we're going to take it and we're going to grab some clips. Use whatever clips you have on hand. If you marked your centers, that is good. We're just going to put a couple clips here, and we're going to take this over to the machine, and we are going to sew at 3/8 of an inch. And back stitch. All right, so then we're going to take this over here and we're going to press open this seam. Now, because I'm using vinyl, I can't press with just like an iron. So I'm going to take some double-sided tape, and I'm using just 1/8 of an inch and place it on both sides. And then I'm going to take my seam roller and just roll that tape on so it adheres really well. And let's see. We're going to now finger press this open. And use a roller. And then we're going to take it over to our machine, and we're going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch away from the line, from both sides. Take your time. I always look at the foot front of my machine, not the needle. Find a rhythm that suits you. Like, it might be a faster pace, it may be a slower pace, but like the machine has like a certain rhythm that I like listen to, and it kind of calms me to take my time. That's why I feel like machines never sound alike, because when you're going different speeds, the machine sounds different. And if you're like concise with your machine sounds, it can sound like a beat. See, machines just are very interesting. So just find your rhythm and take your time. You could put your handmade logo anywhere on this bag. Alexis did show where she puts her handmade logos on, I believe, page 21. We do have testers that have it on different sides of the bag, and it looks amazing. So we're going to trim the thread. And we're going to just kind of trim a little bit at the angles, the excess, so that way it's just not in our bulk, you know? Just a little bit at the excess. Don't cut into your let me get these threads over there. Don't cut into your seam allowance or your stitches that you just made. And I have another one, so I'm going to cut those little edges to help with loose bulk. So, see, I have my it looks like a belly button. my badge right here. It's a perfect place to put handmade space to me, but you can have it lower, higher. You could have it on the base, wherever you want to. It will be perfect. All right. So what you're going to do next is you're going to grab a pen, a marking pen of some sort, and you're going to measure 3/8 of an inch down below. Now, a really cool trick that I did not come with, this came up from Nancy from one of the sewing testers. You measure 3/8 of an inch on the side, and then you match the 3/8 of an inch with your pattern piece, and then you can swoop it on down, and it'll be 3/8 of an inch perfectly. So you just take your pattern piece and just put it exactly 3 inches from the line that you created on the side, and bada bing, bada boom, you're done. I was like, yay, Nancy. So we have that. Now we are going to cut some notches. Now, when we cut notches, we need to go towards the line, not past the line, and not all the way to it. You're like, Shnova, come on. What do you mean? Just like about 1/8 of an inch away from cutting towards, in my picture is a pink line. Now, I had success with just doing little clips like every 1/2 inch. You may have to cut out some notches to help with the curve even better. Like some people just cut out like a notch like this. I prefer having slits. All right, so I'm going to do that on this other side too. Just be careful. All right, so then we are going to run a strip of double-sided tape across it, the bottom. I just kind of follow the line right underneath. And I'm using the permanent double-sided tape from, again, Wawak, and this is the 1/4 of an inch. I like to go over it with a roller to make sure it's really pressed in there. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side real quick. And again, just use my seam roller to really make sure that that glue adheres to the materials. Then we're going to go to our machine and we're going to put these two together. So what I like to make sure first is that these match. One really quick trick that I learned is double-sided tape. I know you're like, oh, they use it for everything. So our seam allowance is 3/8, and so I could use 1/4 of an inch on this. And I'm just placing this right in between where we have like the seam, because I want, the most important part to me is I want the seam to match, because it is a round bag and I want to make sure that it stays. So I'm going to take this, my double-sided tape, and then match the seams perfectly as I can, and then I have that double-sided tape there. From there I will put also a clip, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to remove the double-sided tape, and I'm going to match seam to seam. And we are going to just put a few clips, and we're going to sew three-eighths of an inch up both seams. Now remember, there's a little bit of curves in here, so take your time and really follow the angle of the bag and backstitch really well at the beginning and the end. This bag has slight curves, so just be cognizant. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. 3/8 of an inch. All right. So we're going to trim down each side to 1/8 of an inch. Make sure you don't just cut into your stitches. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my centers. I'm going to place these two seams together real quick and find my centers for the bag. So we're going to be installing the bottom of the bag with this. We're going to take this, and what I like to do is I like to match my marks first with 2 clips on both sides. And grab a few more clips. Just so you know, you can never have enough clips to me, so have at it. So then I just start kind of tucking in. Just take your time. Use as many or as few clips as you want. You're just trying to make sure that raw edges fit raw edges. And Alexis is supremely good at making a gusset fit. Like, her gussets always fit perfectly for me. So there's like no shadow of a doubt or question ever if it's going to fit. See, open this bag up a little bit. There we go. And anywhere there's a little bump or little like ripple, that's where you need to place a clip to make sure everything doesn't shift and move. All right, so we have our bucket, and what we're going to do is I'm going to sew. You could do staples. I'm more power to the people that do it. I just suck with staples. I always wind up like hearing it scratch on my bed, or get stuck in my finger, or that's just me. But I'm also supremely clumsy, supremely. So I'm going to start stitching at 3/8 of an inch. And what you're going to notice is, one, I am a huge believer in stilettos. So if you have a stiletto, it can help you out tremendously in holding down this area while you sew. And then I will have either my hand going into the bag or holding down the sides. And then my stiletto also could help make sure that all the raw edges are even. And then I will contort this bag to fit it. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to shift it as I sew. See how the bag is getting squished? Then I just move it around and just stay looking at that 3/8 of an inch line marked on your sewing machine bed. Okay. Shifting this bag, rotating it. And I'm just removing one clip at a time. And trust me, I know I have a lot of clips in here. And we are almost done, friends. And I'm gonna back stitch. Okay. So what we're gonna do here is, if you had staples, you will need to remove them. And if you did it my way, then all we have to do is now trim down the seam allowance down to 1/8 of an inch. Take your time. Make sure you don't accidentally hit the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right. Now we're going to turn it right sides out. So I'm just going to kind of fold the bottom and birth it real quick. Because this bag is shaped differently, depending if you're using marine vinyl like I am, it could take a little bit, but it's okay. I'm going to stick my hands and just pop out the bottom. This is nice. This is a nice looking bag. I like to kind of jiggle my seams, and then sometimes what I do is I take a bone folder and I just go around the seams on the bottom just to make sure everything pokes out and nothing looks funky. All right. Well, we have that. So now we're going to remove our double-sided tape. And you're going to remove one side at a time. And then we're just going to kind of press over that pink line. We're just going to press over to on that 3/8 of an inch line to get try to really fold over at that 3/8 of an inch line so that way you don't get any disturbances. I'm just going to keep doing that all the way around, all the way down. Okay, so we're going to remove the other side, and I'm going to grab 2 other small pieces so I can put it where we connected them. Make sure that I can this as nice as I possibly can. All right, so I'm going to fold this over onto its 3/8 of an inch too. And that's just folded over. And once we're done folding it over, we're going to get that needle nose plier and really press down on areas that are being a little bit finicky. So I'm going to use a couple tools. All right, so I'm going to grab my rolling tool and kind of flatten out these seams a little bit more. And like I told you, the seam roller kind of acts like an iron and will help smooth down areas that are being problematic. And then you always can, after, just like clip down any area that's kind of poking out. Sometimes double-sided tape is just not enough. And the clips help. Okay. And then this is when you can use your the needle nose pliers that we were using, and you can press down on those sides to help relieve the bulk I'm just going around, pressing everything. And I'm just holding it down. This is a little tedious, but I promise you the end result, you're going to be like, holy moly, I made this bag. Like, I felt so good with my first bag I made that I was like popping my own invisible collar. I think I got it. But see how lovely this shape is? It's just such a gorgeous shape. All right. So we have a bazillion clips on here. So we should be good. We're going to go ahead and go grab our lining piece pocket, slip pocket, and one of our lining piece. So we're going to get our lining piece slip pocket, and we're going to need our trim. On your trim, you need to put a piece of double-sided tape, and you're going to fold wrong sides touching. And I'm just going to then I'm going to make a small mark to find my center. I'm going to find my center on my slip pocket. And then I'm going to clip the centers in place and fold over I'm going to put a couple of clips right here so it doesn't fold over. So as you can see, this is the right side of the lining. This is the closed edge with the raw edges touching on the top. We're now going to fold over and make it even and flush. And we're going to clip. And you can use double-sided tape to hold the little piece in down, but as long as you have clips, you're going to be fine. We are going to do some sewing. So let me get a pen or a pencil so I can guide you to what we're doing. Okay. We're going to sew 3/8 of an inch up the side. We're going to pivot, go 3 inches across, and then go down about 1 inch, leaving this open. And this is how the pocket's going to turn out. I know. Listen to me. I was scared too, but trust the process. I promise you it's going to work out. So here we go. Let's start. Let's go up 3/8 of an inch. And always back stitch. Stop, pivot, make sure your needle is down, and go up 3/8 of an inch. I mean, go across 3/8 of an inch, sandwiching in that tab we were using. And we're going to go down about 1 inch, 1.5, and back stitch really well. Okay. We have some trimming to do. We are going to trim everything that's sewn, not the opening, to 1/8 of an inch. And I like to just for good measure always kind of trim at an angle on when I can to help poke out the corners just a little bit more. We're going to turn this right sides out through that opening. Get these pieces. Okay. Okay, and then we're just going to poke out our corners. And again, you can use some kind of tool to help you poke out all the corners. All right. And then I just give that our trim just a nice little tug so you can see it a little bit better. And then I'm going to turn these in onto themselves. So that way we can have it nice and crisp. If it wants to act right. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I'm releasing the air because sometimes these, when you're working with waterproof canvas, like it keeps a lot of air. So I'm just going to poke out these corners a little bit here. Okay. All right. All right, so we have our pocket. We are now going to top stitch this. And when you top stitch this piece, we're going to leave tails and bring the threads to the back, okay? So leave about 2 to 3 inches. I'm going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. And I backstitched and did not pull the thread. So just pretend I didn't backstitch on that side, and we're just going to pull these threads to the back, pulling up the bobbin, and then you'll be able to get the top thread. And then you just knot it off. I usually do 3 to 4 knots, and then I singe it, the threads, because I'm using a polyester base, not a cotton. It's kind of hard to do that with a cotton. It will just melt. Not like singe where it like melts on itself and produces a knot. All right, so we have our pocket. We're going to go now to page 29, and we are going to measure up. So I'm going to find my center. And I'm also, while I'm here, going to just put a small snip on the bottom so I know where the center is at all time. And we're going to measure up. Get a ruler, and we're going to measure up 4 inches from the bottom. And I'm going to put our pocket there. And I'm going to grab a couple of pins. Water-resistant canvas and waterproof canvas has a woven side. So I have a tendency of using pins when I'm using it because it does not show the holes. You can't do this with vinyl, of course. So I'm just doing this because it's there. And I'm going to stitch. Now, I'm not putting rivets in this, so I'm going to be doing this a little bit different. I'm going to go from the top corner right here, and I'm going to stitch in 3 stitches, 2 to 3 stitches, stitch back, and then start doing 1/8 of an inch. That's called a bar tack when you put you do some back stitches in the beginning, and what it'll do is it's going to secure the pocket like as it has a rivet on it. So let's do this real quick. I'm gonna grab my machine, and I'm gonna go stitch in 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to go 1/8 of an inch all the way around. I'm going to show you where I put actually rivets on the first bag I made to help you with success with that and tell you what I would use to secure your rivets to the back so they don't pull through. So right now I'm getting to that edge, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This is what they call a bar tack. Okay. And you can pull your threads to the back, but because I was doing a bar tack, I wanted to make sure that they were secure. All right. So I'm going to pull these needles out, and where I would put my rivets, I would actually put them in the corner right here, and or not on to the trim, but that corner that is right here and here, that's where I would put my let's see, right here is where I would put my rivet. And then I would use something like a leather washer on the back, or a leather washer on the back, or scraps of Peltex, or scraps of, there's plastic washers you can use. This is what I would use to hold and secure to make sure that the rivet wouldn't go through. So we have that one done. One side completely done on the lining. And we're going to now grab our trim piece and our trim divider. So we need the facing and the trim divider. This is the facing, this is the trim divider. On the trim divider, you're going to mark in 1 inch. Okay, you mark in 1 inch, and then you're going to mark in another 1/2 inch up on the right side. On the wrong side, you're going to repeat that 1 inch up and then 1/2 inch, and you're going to have a 7-inch box that you draw. If it's easier for you, you draw in 1 inch on one side, long side, and then 1 inch on the other long side, and then just find your center, so that way you can do 3.5 inch marks going towards the outside of it, and you have your 7-inch box. From here, you're going to put a strip of double-sided tape on the right side of the fabric in between the box. On the wrong side of the fabric, you're going to put double-sided tape on the edges so that way we can secure it to this. What we're going to do on the divider is we're going to go in and we're going to measure 3/4 of an inch in. So what I like to do is I like to use chalk, because chalk comes out on vinyl. So I'm going to do 3/4 of an inch in, and then just for giggles, I like to do my center marks, so that way I know when I put this on here, I'm centering it as much as I possibly can. So I'm going to take the double-sided tape off the right side and put this on my 3/4 of an inch line where I can center it. And we're going to go around and we're going to sew in this zipper box. I do recommend a smaller stitch length if your machine is capable, because it's a tighter curve. So I'm going to start and I'm going to back stitch. stitch down. So we have a 1/2 inch box that we're stitching down for our zipper. All right, so I'm going to adjust my stitches back, and then I'm going to cut in the center, and I'm going to veer off about a 1/2 inch to cut as close as I can to the stitches without cutting it a little V. All right, so what I'm going to do is I like to, if you're using waterproof canvas like I am, I like to kind of like finger press so that the fabric can have some kind of memory, like it knows it's going to be prepared to go on the other side. I'm going to go and do that on all 4 corners. It's like if you were ironing it. And then I'm just going to bring it to the back. And the first thing I'm going to do is remove one of the long pieces of tape and make sure that I can see the lining getting tucked in and the exterior is out, and I'm just going to finger press that tape down. Bring this one back and remove that double-sided tape as well. Now, if you're doing this in cotton, by all means, you can use an iron and it will make your life a whole lot easier. But if you are using waterproof canvas like I am, this makes it easier too. You just have to be a little bit patient and work a little bit with it. And then what I like to do after that is use my seam roller. All right, we got this. All right, so now that we have that all squared away, we're going to grab our 2 zipper pocket pieces. And we're going to grab one of our zipper pulls and our zipper. So, all right, so we are going to gather our 8-inch zipper, and we're going to lay one of our zipper divider liners right side up, center the teeth along the 9-inch edge. So there is an 8-inch edge and a 9-inch. So I'm going to make a snip for the center. Make sure you're doing it on the 9-inch side and not 8.5. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark with chalk. It's really hard to see, but I'm marking with chalk to make sure I have the right sides. And then I'm just going to clip. And we're going to sew down using 1/4 of an inch. Removing those threads. So what we're doing is we're playing the right side of the zipper pocket up, and we're going to look at the right side of the zipper teeth. But the zipper teeth, our side is really facing the wrong side onto the right. If that makes sense. It's just like our normal pockets that we do. All right. And then what I like to do is open this up. And if this was cotton, again, I would just press it, but I'm going to finger press it. And then I'm going to grab some double-sided tape and place it on the zipper. All right. So then from here, I'm gonna make sure that stays. And I'm going to put my zipper pull on. I want my zipper pull to close to the left, so I'm installing it on the right. Put the zipper in the middle. I'm going to remove the double-sided tape. And we're going to place this as even as possible. The great thing about having double-sided tape is you can keep readjusting it to suit what you think is right. I try to get the zipper teeth in the middle as close as I possibly can. Okay, so we have that. All right. Now we're going to install this. We're going to have tall threads because we're going to pull our threads back. And we're going to sew all the way around it using a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So all around the box. I almost was going to backstitch, but I remember. So, move your zipper. Okay. All right. Long threads. And then we're going to pull on our bobbin threads and we're going to get these top threads up. Do the same thing on this side. And then we're going to tie them off. And I'm just going to singe these threads a little bit. And we have our pocket looking like this. Now we're going to close it up. We are going to sew it. Sew the right corner along the bottom using 3/8 of an inch. And then we're going to sew the other side. So I'm going to start with just the bottom. We're going to do a right angle. We're going to do 3/8 of an inch, sew it up. It's easier to clip it this way because this is a very awkward piece. So in the pattern, she does it in 2 parts, which is completely understandable because she wants you to maximize your pocket. Okay. And I'm going to backstitch. All right. And I'm going to sew up the other side at 3/8 of an inch now too, just on this side. All right, so we have our pocket. Now we're going to grab our piece G, and we are going to place the right sides together. Put a couple clips. And we're going to sew using 3/8 of an inch. Okay. And we're gonna trim the bottom of this, our seam allowance, to 1/8 of an inch for just the divider liner. I forgot to mention that. Trimming is important. And then we're going to go 3/8 of an inch on the other side. We're going to take this out and go on right sides together. And we're just sewing the zipper trim and the lining piece at 3/8 of an inch. Okay, we're on page 35. We're getting so close, guys, so close. Okay, we're going to top stitch. I don't trim this part, this seam allowance until I top stitch to make sure I gather everything, because I'm notorious for missing something when I'm top stitching. We're going to sew this at 1/8 of an inch. You're going to move, when you're sewing one side, you're folding it over, and you're going to move your pocket to the other side so you don't accidentally sew over your pocket. 1/8 of an inch. And then once I top stitch it, I'm going to remove those threads, and then I'm going to go in and then trim it down. All right. And we're going to do this again. So we're going to move the pocket to this other side that we already did. Push this down, finger press it, and then we're going to top stitch it at 1/8 of an inch. And we're going to trim. All right. So from here, we're going to grab a ruler and we're going to measure 2" on one of the side dividers from the interior. So I'm going to just draw a 2" line. All right. Then from there, we're going to position our ruler on page 36. We're going to mark a 1/2 inch mark at the bottom of the divider. We're going to mark a 1/2 inch mark. I'm going to do that on both sides. And then from there, we're going to approximately 1 inch from the mark, we're going to go measure it from this area to one. We're going to basically start at 1/4 of an inch, and then go to 3/8 of an inch to this bottom. So it's going to be like a funky little C. So again, approximately 1 inch from that top mark, we're going to measure 3/8 of an inch, and above that mark, we're going to measure 1/4. So it's going to go from 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. And I drew a little C. We're going to take just our 2 pocket parts. Yellow and white was not the best idea for me. And put the zipper pocket on this side. We are going to clip and we're only going to sew from those lines where we veered off from. So it goes into 1/4 and back stitch to 3/8 of an inch. And then we do that over here too. I'm just going to go backwards on this one. I'm going to go from 3/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. Okay. And that was right sides touching, so we sewed on the wrong sides. And then we're going to trim. Let's see, where are my pinking shears? I thought I just had them, but apparently not. Oh, there they are. Yay! And so I was like, I'm doing pretty good. I'm not missing anything. We're going to pink just that area where we stitched at to help relieve, like, reduce bulk. Alright, let me get this. Alright, and then we're just going to turn it right sides out. I'm just going to birth it through that center hole. And when you do that, ooh, I'm sorry, my dog scared me. We're going to make the pocket. It should sit nice and pretty inside of there. No bulk, no nothing. See? So when you open up your zipper, you have a nice clean zipper pocket. And if you look in the inside, this sits right there. All right, we have one thing done already. So we are really doing this. We're going to set this aside for right now, and we're going to grab our other pieces, which are our, you should have 2, your 2 recessed zipper pockets, and then you're also going to need your zipper. So let's start with the zipper. We're going to fold them in on themselves like we normally do. We're going to take it, I fold it onto itself, and then kind of pinch it back. Now, some zipper tape like fray a whole lot easier than others. and this particular one does. I like the method that she has. She says singe your zipper and then grab a pair of pliers quickly and then press it so they can melt together. Let me take off that. And bada bing, bada boom. That one is kind of done. No, it was not done. I was overzealous. Let's see. And it just kind of melts on itself. All right. So we have 2 zippers. Let me see. We have 2 zippers. And one is just not lining up with the other one. So I'm going to redo this. There we go. I want, like, that's the most important part for me, is making sure everything lines up. All right. Let me trim that part off and all right. So we have our 2 zipper things. We're going to take our recessed zippers and we're going to remove the double-sided tape that we're going to put double-sided tape on this side, and then we're going to fold this over so that it touches the Decoville light. You don't want it to overlap. You just kind of want it to touch. So it's about a 1/2 inch away, the Decoville light. So you're using 1/4 of an inch tape and you're kind of just folding it onto itself. Okay. We're almost done. You'll see this comes together really beautifully. You're going to be very proud of yourself. All right. So what I like to do is I like to fold this in half and kind of find my center mark. And what we're going to do is take one of these zippers, pull them apart, I know, and you are going to, I'm going to put double-sided tape because I don't like to put to stitch too many lines or rows of stitching. So I'm putting some double-sided tape, 1/8 of an inch on one side. And we're going to line it up with that mark that we made with the chalk. Fold it over. Probably remark that. Fold it over. And then we're going to sew down 3/8 of an inch. Back stitch in the beginning and the end. Do not sew past the zipper, that little line. Don't sew on the zipper tape. So what then I do now after that is I remove the excess, and then I'm going to cut around the zipper tape on the top of the head, but not cutting into the zipper. Okay, I'm going to trim this down as the angle, and then I'm going to slightly peel this double-sided tape off on this side and do the same thing. So then we're going to take this and we're going to flip this and let it poke the corners out. And fold these sides together, and we are going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. All right. We have one side done. Trimming those threads. And then I'm going to put a little V in the middle of that on the back side, so that way I know which one this is. I'm going to fold this in half too. We're going to put a little bit of double-sided tape. We're going to fold this over. I'm going to hold it with a clip on the side, and we're going to sew 3/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to clip around, not cutting into the zipper tape, remember. That's important. On the angle on by the tape, but not in the tape. Okay, and then we're going to turn this. All right, and we're going to now top stitch down, across, and up. All right, trimming those threads, and then we're going to find our center on this piece and go. Just a small little snip, nothing major. All right, so then we're going to, now we top stitched everything, we're going to now we're going to start doing showing kind of what figure 169 on page 39 is. We are going to grab our pocket piece first. Okay, and we're going to find our center on the top. And we're going to want the zipper tape to be showing up, the pretty side up, not down. And then I want the zipper pull that is going to be zipped towards the left on this side where the pocket is. I'm going to put a clip, and I'm going to sew this on real quickly using 1/4 of an inch. Okay. And then we're going to grab the other lining piece, and we're going to find the centers of this. We're going to just do a small V on the top. And while we're at it, just do it there on the bottom. And we're going to line, again, the teeth to be pretty sides up. Line up the V's that you snipped. And sew that on. I might have to check my bobbin at this point because we haven't changed it yet. I don't want to start top stitching stuff and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, actually I have quite a lot of bobbins still. That's pretty surprising. Maybe just because I think there's a lot of prep, so I think to me I'm sewing more than I normally am, and I know that's probably not the case at all. All right, so now we're gonna grab our top pieces, which are piece E. And before we attach them, you need to draw a line on piece E, one at 1 inch down, and the second one at 3/8 of an inch. And again, do that same trick I showed you of putting a mark on 3/8 of an inch and drawing that down, and then make a mark at 1 inch. And you can draw that down too. And it can help you where you're not trying to figure out math or angles. It helps tremendously. Once you have that part done, then you want to put everything together. And you want to sew this down using 3/8 of an inch. All right. So what I'm going to do before I trim this on the back, I'm going to top stitch. Now when we top stitch, it's really not. What we're doing is we're taking this and we're going to flip this over so the seam is on the lining side, and we're going to understitch, meaning that we're not pressing this down to top stitch over it. We're understitching so it makes the recessed zipper sit nice and taut versus going down like a V. So 1/8 of an inch. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going just to trim this seam allowance here to close as 1/8 of an inch as you possibly can without cutting into anything. So we have that one done. Let's get this other one done. And try to trim those little threads. We're going to do the same thing on this side. Trim those threads. Flip this down so the seam allowance is going towards the lining. Give it a nice tug, and then let's go 1/8 of an inch to top stitch or understitch. Okay, and we're going to trim. Okay, then we're going to go to page 40. We're almost there, guys. We are going to make some markings. We are going to make a marking that are 3/4 of an inch down from the bottom. They don't have to be very big, but from where that line is, where the lining begins, we're going to just make a 3/4 of an inch marking on both sides, just on this one piece. All right, going to grab our zipper pocket, and what I'm going to do real quick is while I'm here, I'm going to make a little snip to make sure I can find the center correct. There we go. And you want to pull your zipper pull to the same side as this. This is the reason why we're using our lining pocket one, because the zippers will go in the same direction. We're going to clip in place on one side 3/8 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch line, and we're going to sew this down using 1/4 of an inch. And this is an excellent place to place a tag too, if you want to. Then we're going to grab our other piece. And again, it's really important for me to see these two pieces like not messing up on each other. So I'm going to grab some double-sided tape again, and just a small piece. It doesn't have to be something big, and put it right here. I'm going to do it on the other side here. All right. So I'm going to remove one piece of double-sided tape and just make sure that these two pieces line up as best as they can. And then I'm going to also take clips and clip down the zippers out of the way. Okay, we're going to take this to the machine and sew this at 3/8 of an inch. Back stitch well at the beginning and the end. And again, just be cognizant that this bag has a lot of curves, so take your time. All right. Trimming those threads. We're going to bring this on over. I'm going to take this first before I put the side on, and I'm going to clip. I just find it easier to have it clipped and basted on. Clip, and I'm just going to baste this on real quickly onto the side before I stitch it all together, just to make sure everything fits nicely. All right. All right. So we're going to line this up. I'm going to pull this double-sided tape back, and I'm just going to make sure that these two pieces really line up, so that way I am one less thing I have to worry about. And on this side, I'm just going to clip everything in place, because it's now kind of becoming like a bubble, getting that three-dimensional shape. And we're going to sew this using 3/8 of an inch. Let's see. All right. We're going to trim the sides down to 1/8 of an inch. We're relieving the bulk. All right. Now we're going to get a little squishy with it. The reason why I have you marking your centers is we're going to center the raw edges of this bottom pocket to this. And what I like to do is I'm kind of squishing this part out of the way so this could fit, and I'm clipping raw edges to raw edges, and I'm just going to baste this on real quick before I sandwich it all together. So I'm just going to baste this bottom little pocket together first on the bottom. All right. And so we're going to now put centerpieces with centerpieces, and we're just going to clip all the way across because now we have sandwiched in the middle divider pocket. And we're going to sew 3/8 of an inch, okay? Back stitch well at the beginning and end. All right. So we're going to trim this down to 1/8 of an inch too. Okay. And now we're going to kind of, it's weird to say box our corners because it's really round our corners. We're going to just put points to matching points and just line everything up. Clip it into place. And we're going to stitch this down. And you're going to probably have to, I'm having the bag sit upright while I'm doing it, so that way I can get the best angle in sewing it. We're going to use 3/8 of an inch, and we are going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. And take your time. You're going to possibly have to squish your bag. It's fine. It'll survive. And then we're going to trim that down. We're going to trim that down to 1/8 of an inch. So okay, we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to sew the 3/8 of an inch around here. Are you guys getting excited? I know I am. Okay. Trimming it down to 1/8 of an inch. All right, see, and when you look inside, you have your like center divider pocket, and it's so cute. So now we're going to get some double-sided tape, and we are going to place it around on right on the 1-inch line. You could have did this prior to. I think I forgot. Just gonna try to get that as flat as possible. Finger pressing it on the way just to secure it even more. Okay. And I'm just gonna all right. So then I'm gonna clip into like what we did before. Not on the line. It could be like a skosh. And make sure you don't accidentally cut into your zipper. Zipper, just kind of fold it down so you don't accidentally clip into it. Okay. And then we're just going to press this down to that 1-inch line. Just right on that line. And you can put clips on areas that are puckering up. It's fine. Just take your time. And I'm just like finger pressing it as I'm going around. You could put it right above the 1-inch line. I'm sorry, I said below, and I'm like readjusting the tape as I go because I put it too low. Because you're trying to get the clip, everything to go right on that 1-inch line that you drew. And you have a nice one. Then you're going to take your bag that you are the exterior, and you're going to put interior and exterior together. And this is where we're going to be using our bazillion clips. So I'm going to take off clips and line things together and then readjust the clips. Just adjust things as you go and reclip. You can never have too many clips. Folding this down, making sure corner meets corner. All right, so before we start sewing, there are a few things you could do. Everything's gonna sew together smoothly because realistically you're only sewing through 4 layers of vinyl. However, this area could be a little bulky. This is where I would use my pliers and just kind of press down gently and squeeze so that way it can help reduce the bulk. Okay, so now we're going to take this over to the machine and we are going to sew this at 1/8 of an inch. Now hear me out, take your time. I'm going to go from the inside out using my bobbin threads. I'm going to start in the corner and we got this, okay? If you have to adjust, make sure your needle is in the needle down position and just take your time. Everything's going to be okay. I'm going to squish this down as much as I can so you can see it. Have long tails so you could tie your knots to the back. I'm not saying that you can't backstitch because you can, because if you start in the seam, that area is going to be covered with a connector and nobody would see the backstitch. And I'm moving the bag around and removing clips and just with the needle down and making sure that all raw edges are touching. Well, there's no off folded edges, I should say, not raw. Squishing it around. And take your time. Okay. And try to move clips as I go. I'm just taking my time, and I'm using my stiletto to help navigate around the curves and to make sure that everything's tucked in nicely. All right, and let me pop out this. All right. You could pull your threads to the back, or if you backstitch accidentally like I did, you could just trim them. And we have like a really beautiful bag. All right, so we have a few more steps and then we're almost done. So we are going to take our connectors. This is, to me, it's not the most hardest part, but it's going to take time and finesse. We're going to take your piece, and you're going to measure down 1 inch. And then from 1 inch, you're going to cut at an angle, kind of making it into like a little, let me try to make it even. Like, just, you're taking about 1/4 of an inch and going in, so that this area could be a little bit narrower when you are doing, when you're making these connectors. So way you do it is you're going to just measure 1 inch down, and you're just going to just do a slight corner where the stabilizer isn't at, because we're going to be folding that over. We're going to fold this on into itself and folding those little corners into itself too. This helps reduce bulk. Okay, I'm just gonna roll that out. See, just a little bit out of an angle, and if it's not too much, just enough to help keep things out of the seam allowance when we're trying to rivet and stuff like that, so it's not as many as layers. So I like to fold the little corner pieces first, so that way I can make sure they're accurate. Okay. All right, so we're going to top stitch this down 1/8 of an inch on the sides, and you could back stitch. I actually kind of like to bring it down and then go across, so that way it's like one consistent stitch all the way around. All right. Doing the same thing on this side. trimming those threads. All right, so then we're going to grab our connectors. Let's see. I have another one. There it is. And then we're going to put double-sided tape. We're going to measure about 1.5 inches up on the smaller, narrow side. I'm just going to use a chalk pencil. We're going to take some double-sided tape. All right, and then again, I just roll these on. And we're going to fold this part on half on itself at the 1.5 inch mark. I'm just going to roll this. So that fold, we're going to fold that in half. When this is measured, your strap connector should be 2 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so this raw edge is going to go in the inside of your bag, and this clean folded edge will be on the outside. So we're going to take our connector and slide it into the ring, and what I like to do from here is measure the 5/8 of an inch down. With a chalk pencil, and I do this when this is up, and I'm going to just singe these threads. I take my connector and then I measure 5.5 inches from the fold. All right, then I take my connectors out. You're like, Genova, you're doing a lot. Trust me, it will all make sense. We're going to put four hole punches, and what I like to do is I like to grab a ruler, and I'm going to be using this ruler. It's for straps, and it helps me align things. Because my problem with the sewing thing is that I have a hard time drawing. I can't eyeball things. I like totally envy people that can eyeball things. So I'm going to take my strap connector and I'm going to measure at the 5/8 of an inch line, and I'm going to measure, put my 2 dots, and I'm going to post them, and then we're going to measure 1/4 of an inch up and put the other dots on the bottom. So I'm going to make these markings on this other side too real quickly. All right. I'm going to grab my hole puncher. And I'm going to punch a hole. I'm going to just hold it, and I'm going to punch a hole through all layers. From the markings that I made. And for this one, you might want to, depending on what you have, make sure you have the right size post for your rivets. You might need a little longer using a large versus a medium. It just depends on the materials you're sewing through. I'm using marine vinyl, so I got a longer post. I'm definitely using a longer post. All right, then we're going to feed this back through. And I'm going to take my bag and I'm going to hold it like this. And I'm going to make some markings. I need a pen again. I'm going to make some markings so that I know where to punch my holes. So I want to just center this as best I possibly can. And then make some marks. Then punch some holes. Oh, and one side didn't actually mark. So good catch. All right. I have to do that. I call it the sew a swivel, because when I punch a hole, it never fully punches all the way out. All right. I'm just going to make sure the holes are punched through and through. All right. So then from here, we're going to do this. We're going to get our rivets. And see, I'm using a longer post. I'm going to go from the bottom first. I'm going to feed the metal through. Bring it on in. And put a cap. This is the longest part of the bag making, I feel. And it's, if you have the right size post, then it won't be that long. So just keep in mind how many layers you're going through. Are you using vinyl? Are you using leather? Are you using cork? You know, certain materials are thinner than others. Because I was able to use medium rivets with my other bag because it was a thinner vinyl. You're just threading the metal through the holes. And once we're done with this, we have one more step and then we're done. Woo, this looks so nice. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to thread this side, and the raw edge goes on the inside of the bag. The non-raw edge, the folded edge, is on the outside. We're going to make our marks. Okay. And then we're going to punch our holes. All right. And here we go. Threading it through. Again, for all these layers of marine vinyl, I'm using a large rivet from Inaline bags versus a small. I mean, versus a medium. Okay, and 2 more to go, and we'll be done with the connectors. Let's see. Oops. And there goes something. And last but not least, the last rivet. So I got 8 large rivets. And this, you know, like the last rivet is like the rivet that wants to cause the most like chaos. And this one definitely does. Okay. All right. So we have our zippers in. The last thing we need to install is our last zipper pull. So I'm gonna just singe these real quick, and then I'm going to put my zipper pull on. And I like to feed them both in and try to see they both hit the center divider at the same time. And then I push in. And we're gonna close that up. Look how nice that is. I'm gonna singe this again. And I'm gonna grab some more double-sided tape. You're like, Shinova, you're killing me with the double-sided tape. I promise you, this is the end. I take 2 small pieces and I put 1 piece on the back. And I fold it in. And I do the same thing on this side. Okay. And then I'm going to feed this zipper end through it. Grab the screw. And that is all she wrote. We have a beautiful bag that now we just attach our little straps to. And you are ready to head out. This is a beautiful bag. The shape of it is so gorgeous. Alexis really outdid herself. This bag is absolutely stunning. You have a couple components to get together, but once you do your first one, the second one goes by easy. so fast. So I want to thank you again for staying around and sewing with me. If you have any questions or concerns, please leave them down in the comment section. If you would like me to see different Ora Rosa patterns that I've sewn, there is a playlist that I can link. If there's a pattern that I have not made from Ora Rosa that you would like to see, if you can put that in the comment, I would appreciate it. Like, subscribe, share. And if you're like, oh, Shanova, I couldn't have made this bag without you. I want to buy you a cup of coffee. I'll put my link to my Ko-fi account where you can buy a cup of coffee if you wish. I hope you guys have a wonderful day and happy sewing.